I'm Polly Toynbee from The Guardian. They need no introduction, but I will introduce them all the same in case anybody here from some other planet doesn't know who they are. David Miliband, Ed Balls, Andy Burnham, and Diane Abbott. I've been given very strict instructions and rules as to how we're to conduct this. They will each speak for 90 seconds and not a second more. We will then throw it open to the floor for questions, which I will take one at a time. They each have a minute to respond to that question. I'm allowed to intervene as I like, I'm told, which is very generous, as usual. I have rather more freedom than that's the abuse of journalism. The whole thing will last exactly an hour, so it will be over at 4 o'clock. We will try to get in as many of your questions as possible. Please keep them short and succinct, and we'll take them in order of the order in which they were nominated, which is the order in which they're sitting. So if you're wondering why it goes in that order, that is the rationale behind it. So I'll start straight away by calling on David Miliband.
Well, thank you very much, Polly, and thank you to you all for coming today. All of us on this panel have said that we need to move beyond the Blair-Brown era, but I think that is to massively underestimate the scale of the task in front of us. We have a challenge as big as anything that progressives have faced in Britain since Tony Crosland wrote The Future of Socialism, and probably anything that has been tried since the 1930s. We have to be the private sector reformers at a time not just to increase fairness, but to increase growth at a time when the European economies are all in trouble. We have to be the community builders at a time when the foundations of community have been undermined. We have to be the egalitarians, critically, at a time when politics has massive forces of inequality, and we have to be the internationalists when the drawbridges of protectionism are being drawn up. All of that is tough enough, but we also have to have a different kind of politics, starting with our own party. That's why I've said we've got to elect our party chair, but it's far deeper than that. We need to go back to the idea of a Labour movement in which the machine is a reflection of the movement, not the other way round. That's why I'm sponsoring, for example, 1,000 community organisers to be trained in the course of this campaign. I think we need a leader who can fire the imagination of the public as well as the party, who can unite all the talents that exist, not just in Parliament, but beyond, who can be a credible alternative Prime Minister, and someone who can win the battle of ideas. That's why I'm standing in this leadership election.
Can I start by thanking Compass for the work it has been doing in the last few years on justice in our economy, on justice in our economy, on democracy, and on high pay. I'm standing in this leadership election for 3 reasons. First, values. As the Climate Change Secretary, I showed how I could turn our values into policy we could be proud of, on coal, on a low-carbon transition, and at Copenhagen. And now I want to do the same as your leader. I've already talked in this campaign about equality. The gap between rich and poor does matter to me. That's why I'm campaigning for a living wage and a high pay commission. Secondly, we need a leader who can listen. Frankly, we didn't listen enough to the party in the last 13 years. And if we had, on housing, on agency workers, on a whole range of other issues, we wouldn't have got into some of the troubles that we did. David's right, we need to elect the party chair. We need to give more power to annual conference, and to change the political conversation, we need 50% of the shadow cabinet and then the cabinet to be women, because that will change the political conversation. And finally, we need a movement. The most important Labour myth is this, which is that all you need is power. Of course you need power. Power is essential, and we need to get back there as soon as possible. But in order to exercise power in the way we want to, we need to build a movement that can take on the Tories in opposition, a movement that can win us the mandate we need, and a movement that can sustain us in power. If I was your leader, I make you this promise. I would never leave the party behind, either as leader of the opposition or as Prime Minister. Thank you very much.
Ed.
Thanks to everybody who came along to our child poverty fringe this morning, and to Ruth Lister for her leadership in the last decades on child poverty. Look, 100 years ago in meetings like this, the Labour, the cooperative and the trade union movement came together to fight for social justice. And I think there's two lessons you learn in the last 100 years. First of all, in that fight for free healthcare, for proper rights at work, we only succeed if we stand together as a collective. The reason why we are Labour is because we don't choose selfishness, we choose solidarity. But secondly, we can't stand up for those who need our help most if we lose touch and lose power. That's what happened in 1979. That's what happened in the last general election. And we've got to learn those lessons and understand that we've got to rebuild our trade union and local government and party base. We've got to change those policies like tuition fees, which just didn't work and were the wrong policy, but also we need to speak a language which our voters understand and relate to. And we've got to be clear. This coalition government is the biggest threat to our welfare state, to jobs and public services in 60 years, and the fight back must start now. I'm Labour. The reason why I'm Labour is because my father's father died when my dad was 10 years old. They were a single-parent family in Norwich, but he went to university, the first from his community, the first from his family, because the Labour post-war government made that possible for him. And I want that opportunity for every child and every family in my constituency and across the country. It is that fight for social justice which we must renew. That is the only way that we'll win again.
Thank you, Polly. I want to put it to you that I can give the Labour Party something the Tories don't have. A leader that people can relate to, whose background looks like their own, but who has the ability to connect with the voters that we've lost. A people person who can put the heart and soul back into the Labour Party. And that's what we need right now, because in my view, our problem is fundamental and far-reaching. People have lost sight of who we are and what we stand for. Labour, for me, is absolutely nothing if it is not about breaking down elites. But in government, we spent too long courting elites. And we also, and let's face it, we also ran our own party in an elitist way. Too many good Labour people were alienated from the government and consequently felt no joy or ownership of its achievements. Labour will look and feel different under my leadership. There will be more power to members to hold MPs to account. We will take the dead hand of stage management off party conference. Those are commitments I give to you. And we will put the parachutes away forever. I will talk with passion in this campaign from my own life experience about breaking down elites, because life chances in this country are still determined by the postcode of the bed that you are born in. I will challenge a cabinet of millionaires that already are cutting life chances without compassion. I will speak to the kids without connections who find it too hard to get on. I will speak to the lower income families who often feel trapped by their circumstances in a world of job insecurity and short-term contrast. And I will speak to the older people who sadly fear old age. And I will bring forward big, inspiring ideas in the best traditions of our party, a national care service to take away the fear of old age from too many people in this country. So if this speaks to your vision of Labour, if you want a party that puts people before business, and above all else, if you want to go out there and have it feel good to be Labour again, then I ask you to join my campaign. Thank you very much.